The record should reflect that all three defendants are present with all of their attorneys. All of the special prosecutors are present as well. We left off in the state's case. State, call your next witness.
We'd like to call Officer Dora Fontane.
Oh, Your Honor, can we approach in chambers on the record?
Okay, we will be in a short recess. We will be in chambers. Ms. Court Reporter, if you would please come back, and all the parties. Okay, I'm going to do this. Step up, and then you're going to face the clerk and raise your right hand.
These are testimony about the case of truth, the whole truth, and the truth, nothing else?
Yes.
Take a seat and keep the voice up, please.
Yes. Give me 1 second to get to the right page here. I'm sorry, what were you saying?
May I approach the witness and you, Judge, to give you witness with the exhibits that are intended to use with the witness?
Yes. They're not in this big binder?
They are, but it was just.
I have it right here. I just turned to the tab. But thank you. You may proceed.
Thank you, Judge. Can you please introduce yourself? Spell your first name.
My name is Dora Fontane, D-O-R-A-F-O-N-T-A-N-E.
Officer Fontane, are you testifying subject to the court-ordered use immunity today?
Yes.
And do you understand that use immunity means that you cannot be prosecuted for your testimony today except for perjury, false swearing, or failing to comply with the court order?
Yes.
Officer Fontane, did you witness the fatal shooting of Laquan McDonald on October 20th, 2014?
Yes.
I'd like to provide the court with a brief overview of your testimony. First, are you able to testify today about what you saw of that shooting?
Yes.
Are you able to testify about reports that you made related to that shooting?
Yes.
And are you able to testify about statements that were attributed to you about the shooting?
Yes.
And finally, are you able to testify about how the investigation of the shooting has affected you at the Chicago Police Department?
Yes.
All right, let's first start with your background. When did you first join the Chicago Police Department?
October 2901.
And what was your position with CPD?
Patrol.
Where were you assigned?
The 8th District.
And is that where you're currently assigned?
Yes.
What's your current position?
I'm in the review office.
And what are your duties in review?
I handle paperwork, reports.
All right, we'll talk about that a little bit later. First, I want to ask you about the shooting of Laquan McDonald on October 20th, 2014. Were you on duty that night?
Yes.
What shift?
Midnight, 9 p.m. to 6 a.m.
Did you have a partner?
Yes.
Who was your partner?
Ricardo Villamontes.
Where were you assigned?
To the 10th sector.
What's the 10th sector?
There's different sectors. There's the 10, 20, and 30. The 10 sectors on the west end.
Were you on car or on foot?
In a car.
All right. And what was the name of your car?
841 Robert.
Now, when you and Officer Villamontes began your patrol on 841 Robert, where did you go first?
Dunkin' Donuts.
Where's the Dunkin' Donuts?
At 55th and Pulaski.
When you got to the Dunkin' Donuts, what did you do?
My partner got off for coffee, and I stayed in the car.
What were you doing while you were in the car?
I was talking to my husband on the phone. My daughter was sick.
Or did your partner have occasion to come back to the car?
Yes.
And what? Tell us what happened.
He came out of Dunkin' Donuts and said that somebody was asking for a taser.
Do you know who was asking for a taser?
At the time, no.
All right. What did you do next?
We listened to the radio and they were asking for assistance at Pulaski and 41st, between 41st and 40th.
Who was asking for assistance?
Now it was 815 Robert.
Okay. Who was driving your car?
Ricardo Viramontes.
All right, what did you and Officer Viramontes do next?
We turned on our lights, sirens, and we headed towards the direction of the assistance.
All right, do you know about how long it took you to get to the place where you were going?
Between 5 and 7 minutes?
Do you know exactly where you were headed?
Yes.
Where?
We were headed northbound on Pulaski to 40th and Pulaski. 40th and Pulaski.
All right, did you arrive at 40th and Pulaski?
Yes.
As you were arriving, did you have occasion to see anything?
Yes.
What did you see?
I saw a male black, now known as Laquan McDonald, walking southbound, swinging a knife, twisting and falling.
All right. Where was he approximately when you first saw him?
He was in the middle of the street on Pulaski.
And what do you mean by middle of the street?
He was on the street walking southbound.
Okay, would that be where the double yellow lines are?
Yeah, around there. Mm-hmm.
All right. How did you know he had a knife?
He had a shiny object, and I've seen knives before.
And you say he was swinging a knife.
Yes.
And what do you mean by that?
Swaying left to right.
Okay. As he was swaying this knife, could you see him clearly?
Yes.
Right. Did you ever see him raise the knife up to his shoulder?
No.
Did you see him raise the knife above his chest?
No.
Did you see him attack anyone with the knife?
No.
Did you see him touch anyone with the knife?
No.
Did he hold the knife near or below his waist?
Yes.
Did you see any other police cars in the area?
Yes.
Do you know how many police cars?
About 3 or 4.
Did it appear to you as if the individual was walking toward anyone?
No.
Was he in reach of anyone?
Not that I could see.
Did you get out of your car?
Yes.
As you were getting out of your car, could you still see this individual known as Laquan McDonald?
Yes.
Could you hear anything?
Dropped the knife and gunshots.
All right. Besides drop the knife and gunshots, did you see anything else?
Puffs of smoke.
Where were these puffs of smoke?
They were coming from the location of Laquan.
Did you know who was saying drop the knife?
No.
Did you know who was shooting?
No.
Did you ever find out who was shooting?
Yes.
When did you find out who was shooting?
I'm not quite sure exactly when.
Okay. So you get out of your car, you hear drop the knife, you see the individual, I believe you said fall, you saw smoke.
Twist and fall.
Okay. Did you draw your gun?
No.
All right. Was the individual shot while he was lying on the ground?
Yes.
Did you see anyone approach this individual while he was on the ground?
Yes.
Who?
Officer Walsh.
Officer Walsh. Do you know him personally? Are you familiar with Officer Walsh?
Yes.
You see him in the courtroom today?
Yes.
Can you point him out, please, and identify him?
We'll stipulate that Officer Fontane identified Mr. Walsh.
Okay, there's an in-court identification of Defendant Walsh.
As you were observing this individual, Laquan McDonald, get shot, did you observe him raise his arms trying to threaten anyone?
No.
Did you observe him raise his arms in an attempt to stab anyone?
No.
Did you observe him make any aggressive moves as if he was going to attack anyone?
No.
Did you observe him lunge at anyone?
No.
Did you observe him charge at anyone?
No.
After he fell to the ground, did you observe him move?
Judge, I have an objection to beating on direct.
I agree. I was joining the objection.
That is sustained.
What did you observe, if anything, while he was on the ground?
Twitching.
Did you observe anything else with respect to his movement while he was on the ground, or his twitching while he was on the ground?
Just twitching.
After the shooting stopped and after you observed Officer Walsh kick the knife out of Laquan McDonald's hand, what did you do next?
We went to go do traffic.
What does it mean to go do traffic?
We went to go block any traffic that would be coming into the scene.
And what made you do that?
I'm not sure if we just decided or they told us to go.
And would that have been you and your partner?
Me and Rick Vermontes.
All right, what happened next?
We relocated to 41st and Pulaski.
And what happened when you got to 41st and Pulaski?
We stationed ourselves to block traffic.
Did you block traffic?
No, we were called back.
Where were you called back to?
We were called back to follow the ambulance.
Okay, and so what did you do then?
We followed the ambulance.
And so you literally drove behind the ambulance?
The ambulance started driving off, and then we started following.
How far did you follow the ambulance?
We got to the overpass on 55th right before getting into the expressway, and we were called back to the scene.
And what were you called back to the scene for?
To do the paper.
What does it mean to do paper?
To do the report.
What does that involve?
Collecting officers' names, stars, beats.
And who asked you to do that? If you remember.
No, I don't remember.
And did you partake in this assignment of collecting officers' names and beats and stuff?
Yes.
And how did you know who was at the scene?
We just walked around and asked for names, beats, and stars.
Where did you walk around to?
We walked around the scene, and then there was a Dunkin' Donuts there.
Where was the Dunkin' Donuts?
Right across the street.
Did you go inside?
Yes.
What did you do when you were inside?
There was like 4 officers there, and I took their name and number.
Do you recall who they were?
No.
Were they in uniform?
Some were, some weren't.
Of the 4, do you recall how many were and how many were not?
No.
Did you recognize any of them at the time?
No.
And did you get information from them?
Yes.
What did you do with that information?
I put it on the case report.
Do you know how many officers you got information from at the scene that night?
No.
Did you see anything while you were inside the Dunkin' Donuts?
Oh, as I was asking, I saw some of the officers, they had like a laptop. It was open.
Could you see anything on the laptop?
It was Laquan walking.
Was this on the laptop?
Yes.
How do you know it was Laquan walking?
It was almost the same thing that I had seen, that I had witnessed.
Did you discuss that video with those individuals while you were in the Dunkin' Donuts?
No.
Do you recall hearing what they were saying about the video?
No.
After you left the Dunkin' Donuts, what did you do next?
I got back in the car with my partner.
Why did you do that?
Because we were getting all the information together that we had gathered.
Was your partner in the car?
Yes.
And how did you enter the information that you gathered?
It's a computer on the car. It's called a PDT. It's like a laptop.
And so how did you engage with that laptop?
I signed in under my password, and we were trying to get the information to put into it.
Did anyone approach your car at that time?
Yes.
Who?
Captain Walsh.
Did you engage in conversation with Captain Walsh?
Yes.
Okay. And what happened during that conversation?
He just wanted to know if we were okay, if everything was good.
Did anyone else approach your car?
Yes.
Who?
Detective March.
And would that be Detective David March?
Yes.
And do you recognize him in the courtroom today?
No, yes.
Can you please point him out and identify an article of clothing?
Purple tie.
Judge, may the record reflect that she's identified defendant David March.
The record will so reflect.
Had you seen him before?
No.
Do you know what his role was at the time?
He was the leading detective
How do you know that?
because he told us.
And when you say he told us, who's us?
Me and my partner.
And that would be Officer Bureau.
Is that a yes or no?
Yes.
Now, when Detective March came up to your car, did he say anything to you?
He was looking for an RD.
What does that mean, looking for an RD?
The RD number that's represented with the case report.
What is an RD?
A record number.
And you say he was looking for an RD.
Yes.
Did you have an RD?
Yes.
And what did you do with that information?
With the RD, you plug it into the computer, into the program for the case report.
All right. And did you have any further conversation with him?
Yes.
And can you please tell us who was present during that conversation?
Just me and him in the front of the car.
And how did that conversation take place?
Oh, he didn't realize we were on scene when it occurred. We told them, and then he asked me to talk to him in front of the car, to step out and talk to him.
All right, let me take that in part. You just said I'm having a hard time hearing you. Can you repeat what you just said, please?
When he came over for the RD, then we told him, we were there, and he was surprised that we had been on scene. So then he said, "Can I talk to you in front?" And to get out of the car and talk to him in the front of the car.
And so by on scene, you mean at the location where the shooting occurred?
Yes.
And how do you know he was surprised that you were on scene?
Just his look, like he's like, "Oh, okay." Then he needed to talk.
All right, so you say he asked you to get out of the car.
Yes.
Did you do that?
Yes.
And where did you go?
To the front of the car.
And did he go with you?
Yes.
Anybody else?
No.
Did you have a conversation with him at the front of the car?
Yes.
And what did you say to him? What did he say?
He just asked me, "What did I see?"
Did you tell him what you saw?
Yes.
What did you tell him?
A male black walking southbound, swaying the knife, twisting, falling.
What did you do next?
After that, he asked me to call my partner over.
Did you do that?
Yes.
How did you do that?
I went back in the car, and then my partner got out to talk to him.
Did you physically get back in the car?
Yes.
And did your partner get out?
Yes.
Did your partner go around to the front?
Yes.
Could you hear the conversation?
No.
And what did you do while you were in the car?
We still had, we wrote everything down on a piece of paper, so we were trying to figure out everything on the piece of papers, the beats and the stars.
When you were speaking with Detective March, was he taking notes?
He had a notebook or a legal pad.
Do you recall if you saw him write on the notepad?
No, I don't remember.
Did he repeat back to you the information that you gave to him at that time?
No.
Did he allow you to review or look at any of the notes that he wrote during that time?
No.
So what happened after you talked with Detective March, got back in your car, and continued to complete the forms?
After my partner got back in the car?
Yes.
Oh, then March came up to the car, and we just asked him questions about the information that goes on the report.
Judge, I would like to show the witness behind tab 1, exhibit Fontane case incident 1, which has previously been admitted. Please.
Any objection, Mr. McKay,
No.
Mr. Pugh, or Breen, Mr. Fahey?
No, Your
All right, you can ask questions.
All right, when you turn behind tab 1, you'll see an exhibit, People's Exhibit Fontane Case Incident 1. You see that exhibit?
Yes,
When you look on the first page in the first box, see where it says assault, aggravated, heel, knife, cut, instra.
yes,
Do you know what that means?
yes.
What does that mean?
An officer was assaulted with a knife.
Is that the category for this report?
Yes.
And how did the incident get categorized?
That's what I was told it was going to be.
Who told you?
Detective Marsh.
Did Detective March tell you why to categorize it like that?
No.
Looking further down the page, do you see where victims are listed on the report?
Yes.
Or who gave you that information?
It's always the lead detective, so it would be Detective Marsh.
Did Detective March give you those names?
Yes.
And what are the names of the victims listed on the report?
Gaffney, Officer Gaffney, Officer Van Dyke, and Officer Walsh.
Did Defendant March tell you why any of the officers were listed as victims?
No, not that I recall.
All right, if you look at the bottom of page 1, where Officer Van Dyke is identified as injured by the offender. See that?
Yes.
Where did that information come from?
It had to come from Detective March because I hadn't talked to Van Dyke, so I didn't even know he was hurt.
Did anyone else give you information to put in this form other than Detective March?
No.
Did you observe Laquan McDonald injuring Officer Van Dyke?
No.
Did you tell Defendant March that Laquan McDonald injured Officer Van Dyke?
No.
So who's identified in this form as the suspect?
Laquan McDonald.
And where did that information come from?
I don't know if it came from the PDT or Detective Marsh told me that.
And what is the PDT?
The PDT is the computer where they send information. So sometimes they'll send information through that.
And Officer Van Dyke, you saw Officer Van Dyke shoot Laquan McDonald. Is that right?
Objection, that's a misstatement of what he's already testified to.
That's sustained.
You saw Laquan McDonald being shot. Is that
Yes.
right? Were you told why Laquan McDonald was to be listed as the suspect and not the victim of the shooting?
No.
Right on page 4, I'd like you to look at the first line. It reads, refer to Detective Division Supplementary Report. You see that?
You need to answer the question.
Oh, yes.
Okay. Did you type that in?
Yes.
Why did you type that in?
That's the procedure, and that's what Detective March said we would have to put on there.
All right. If you go to the end of the report on page 4, same page, who approved the report?
Object, no objection.
Okay.
Sergeant Frankel, Stefan Frankel.
All right. And on that same page, there's a name listed as the individual who reviewed the report.
Objection, it does not say review.
Mr. McKay, you can take it down a notch. It's a bench trial. I can hear you perfectly fine from here. Let me just take a look at it. What was your question?
Judge, I'll rephrase my question.
Then, all right, so that objection is withdrawn. She's going to rephrase the question, or your objection stands, but she's going to rephrase it. We'll put it like that.
Can you tell us who is listed as the detective/investigator?
David March.
And can you tell us the date that's listed when that individual reviewed the report?
Objection.
That is sustained.
Thank you, Your Honor.
I didn't even need an objection for that.
Do you see a date?
A date for
A
what?
date next to the individual's name, David M. March. You see
Yes.
a user?
Yes.
What's the user?
PC09469.
And then you see a date?
Yes.
What's the date?
21 October 2014.
And is that a time next to it?
Yes.
What's the time?
1501.
What's the unit?
610.
Are you aware of any changes that were made to this report after you submitted it?
No.
All right, I would now like to ask you to turn to People's Exhibit March GPR 1. If I may have permission from the court. It's been previously admitted.
Which tab is that?
Tab 2.
Tab 2?
It's March GPR 1.
Okay, any objection, Mr. McKay?
No.
Any objection, Mr. Pugh? Or Mr. Breen? Mr. Fahey? Okay.
All right, Officer Fontane, if you turn to tab 2, I'd like to show you People's Exhibit March GPR 1. See that exhibit?
Yes.
What is it?
A general progress report.
And on the top right, what is the date of the report?
20 October 2014.
And on the bottom left corner, who is listed as the reporting officer?
David Marsh.
And is there a star number?
Yes.
What's that number?
20563.
Have you ever seen this report, or had you been given an opportunity by David March to see this report?
No.
All right, the first line, it says D. Fontane. Would that be you?
Yes.
And this report indicates, and I'll quote, O ignored raised R arm toward VD as if attacking VD. Did I read that right?
All right, if I can interpose an objection here. First,
Yes.
for the record, this was an exhibit that myself and Mr. Fahey, we objected to earlier. Just want to make sure the court understands that that objection is running for these exhibits still.
Thank you for that. And the record is clear on that now. So your objection is noted. Continuing the objection on this document, correct, Mr. Pugh?
Yes, sir.
All right, and Mr. Fahey?
Yes.
All right, that objection is noted but overruled. Okay.
What does O mean?
Offender.
What does R mean?
Ignore. Oh. Right.
What does VD mean?
Van Dyke.
So the translation would be offender ignored, raised right arm toward Van Dyke as if attacking Van Dyke. Would that be how that would be read?
Yes.
Did you ever observe Laquan McDonald raise his arm towards Officer Van Dyke?
No.
Did you ever observe Laquan McDonald raise his arm as if attacking Van Dyke?
No.
Did you make that statement to Defendant March?
No.
Is that statement false based on what you witnessed of the shooting?
Objection, Your Honor.
That calls for a conclusion, so
Yes.
that is sustained.
Did
Didn't interrupt your
I'm sorry.
objection.
Did Defendant March ever give you an opportunity to review or revise this report before it was submitted?
No.
Objection is the answer.
That's overruled.
All right, I'd like to show you, with permission, Exhibit March Case Sub 2, which is tab 3 in the binder, Judge.
Thank you.
This has also been previously did.
All right, any objection, Mr. McKay?
No, Your Honor.
Mr. Pugh or Mr. Breen?
Which one are we on?
It's the tab
March.
3.
March Case Sub 2.
It's the same objection, Judge.
Okay. Mr. Fahey,
Joined in with this objection.
your objection's noted but overruled.
Would you turn to tab 3 in your binder?
Yes.
Do you recognize what that is?
Yes.
What is it?
Case supplementary report.
Top of the page, who's listed as the reporting officer?
David March.
You turn to page 15 of 22 of that exhibit. And you see statements that have been attributed to you.
Yes.
One statement indicates McDonald ignored the verbal direction and instead raised his right arm toward Officer Van Dyke as if attacking Van Dyke. Do you see that?
Yes.
Did you observe Laquan McDonald raise his right arm toward Officer Van Dyke as if attacking Van Dyke?
No.
Did you make that statement to Defendant March?
No.
Were you ever given an opportunity to review or revise this statement before Defendant March submitted it?
No.
All right, now I'd like to go back to the scene on the night of the shooting. You indicated that you and your partner were in the car completing a report
Yes.
after having spoken to Detective March.
Yes.
Did you leave the scene?
Yes.
Where did you go?
We went to the area.
Why did you go to the area?
We were instructed to go to the area.
Well, what is the area?
The area is where the detectives work out of,
And where is the area?
at 51st and Wentworth.
How did you get there?
We drove there.
Once you got there, did you see anyone?
The people that were on the scene.
Do you recall who you saw at the area?
I saw Tom Gaffney, McElligott, Sebastian, Mondragon, March, Detective March.
And what did you see these individuals doing when you first got to the area?
We just sit around.
Did you do anything else while you were there? Did you do anything while you were there?
I spoke to Detective March.
And how is it that you came to speak to Detective March?
He came and asked me to come with him
And where did he ask you to go?
to an office,
And what kind of office?
just a one-room office.
All right. Was there anyone else in the office?
Yes.
Who?
I don't know who it was.
All right. And what did you do while you were in the office?
They played the video,
And you say the video. What do you mean
the
by the video?
Laquan McDonald walking.
Okay. Who played it?
The person who was in the room.
What do you play it on?
A computer or laptop.
And while he played the video, what were you doing?
I was looking at it.
And what was occurring?
Detective March is like, pointed, like, is this where he's walking? I'm like, yes, this is where he's walking. This is where he's turning.
Was that a question and answer, or how was that? How did that?
It was,
work?
yes, questions and answers.
Who was asking questions?
Detective March.
Did Detective March ever ask you to explain what you saw using the video?
No.
Judge, I'd like to show the witness People's Exhibit 813R-Cam1, which is.
I'm sorry, which one?
813-Cam1.
Okay, any objection, Mr. McKay?
No, Judge.
Any objection, Mr. Pugh or Mr. Pugh?
No, Your Honor.
Any objection, Mr. Fahey? All right, you can show the video.
Can you see that video?
Yes.
Is this the video that you were watching?
No.
I'm sorry, Judge.
Is that 813?
I didn't hear that answer.
She said no.
No.
Thank you.
Just for the record, the video is stopped now. Now it's playing again. This is not the video.
It is continuation.
My
This is
question,
not what you saw.
No.
okay.
Do you recognize anything now?
Not right now,
What about now?
about that point.
So you saw this video at this point? Where,
No, more like there.
okay, and can you describe what it is that you see in the video?
Laquan walking southbound.
And so is it your testimony that this is what you saw, but you didn't see the beginning part?
Exactly.
Okay. Can you continue this one, please? Did you see this part? Were you
Yes.
shown this part of the video?
Yes.
Were you shown that part of the video where he drops to the ground?
Yes.
And can you let us know when the video stopped that you were watching?
When he fell.
So you did not continue to watch after he fell?
No.
You didn't continue to watch the video after he fell?
Exactly.
Now, during the time that you were watching that portion of the video, were you describing what was occurring in the video?
He was describing it, and I was just saying yes.
I'm sorry, did she also say I was agreeing and then said yes?
She said that he described what was in the video, and she said yes.
But I thought I heard the word I was agreeing.
Miss
Did I
Court,
mishear that?
just 1 second. Miss Court Reporter, can you please read back the answer? Answer, he was describing it, and I was just saying yes. Are you ready?
Go ahead.
Okay, well, I'll determine if it's time to go ahead or not. The court reporter needed to be ready. She's ready now. Ms. Brown Holmes, ask your next question.
All right. While the video was playing that night, do you recall if defendant Mark was writing anything down?
Not at that point.
Did defendant March ask you any other questions regarding that night, other than that portion of the video?
No.
Now, you testified that you told defendant March that you saw Laquan McDonald turn and fall, or I believe you said turning and fall. Is that
Yes.
correct? Do you know why he was turning and falling?
No.
At some point, did you become aware of statements that defendant March made that were attributed to you?
Yes.
How did you become aware of those statements?
I received a text.
Do you recall when this was?
I was at home.
Do you recall how far it was after the incident?
No.
Do you know if it would be days or months?
I'm not quite sure, but it had to be months or even maybe a year.
How did you become aware of these statements?
Officer Sebastian sent me.
Objection, hearsay.
That is sustained.
Well, Judge, it's not offered for the truth of the matter, it's offered to tell what she did next.
The effect on the
question is,
listener?
how did she become aware?
Is it for the effect on the listener?
Yes.
Okay, I'll allow for that. So I'm gonna allow your objections overruled. And I will only consider it for that purpose.
I received a text from Officer Sebastian, and she said, there's a link showing what March says, we all testified, or what we said.
After you received this text, did you do anything?
Yes.
What did you do?
I opened the link.
And did you read the link?
Yes, I did.
And did you say anything or do anything after reading the link?
Objection, that's hearsay.
What she did?
No, what she said.
I thought she said what you did.
I said, did she do or say anything?
It's overruled.
Did you do or say anything
Yes.
after reading the link? What did you do or what did you say?
I started cursing. I said, what the fuck? I was upset because I had not said that.
So you read an article and you were upset.
Yes.
Why were you upset?
Objection.
Well, that's actually sustained because she already said why. It's asked and answered.
Did you do anything else after reading the article and cursing?
I called my lawyer.
Why did you call your lawyer?
I have to object to that. Can I get into it?
Um,
I didn't ask her, what did she say? to
Mr. McKay, you've got to let the court rule and don't make any direct comments to opposing counsel.
I didn't.
I understand. It appeared that way. So direct all comments to the court. I'm sorry, what was your question again? What did she say to the attorney?
No, I
What
asked
was your
her,
question?
why did she call her?
That objection's overruled. You can answer.
Because I needed her advice.
Why did this matter to you?
Because it was the lie.
At the very beginning of your testimony, you shared that you had been reassigned to desk duty. Is that correct?
Yes.
Do you know how you got reassigned from patrol to desk duty?
Your Honor, at this time, I renew my objection.
Okay, there's going to be a continuing objection on this. Is that right, Mr. McKay?
Yes.
On this line of questioning.
Yes, Your Honor.
And for the matter stated in chambers, your objection is noted but overruled. Mr. Fahey and Mr. Pugh, you had stated objections as well.
Correct.
On the record. And those objections are noted but overruled for the previous rulings by the court in chambers.
Thank you, Your Honor. Thank you, Judge.
And yours will be a continuing objection as well.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So the question is, do you know why you were reassigned from patrol to review?
At that point, I was very stressed out. And my bosses, I had great bosses that reached out to me, and I asked, and they asked if it'd be better for me to come in. People were calling me, other officers were calling me a rat, a snitch, a traitor. They wouldn't back me up.
What do you mean by they wouldn't back you up?
If I was at a call and I needed assistance, some officers felt strong enough to say that I didn't deserve to be helped.
Are you happy with this assignment on review?
Yes,
Why is that?
because it is a safety issue for me. That if I am on the street, I am on a call, I wouldn't know who to trust or if anybody would come and help me.
Officer Fontaine, did you submit any false reports in this matter?
No,
Did you ever write or say anything false as it relates to the investigation of Laquan McDonald to protect yourself or your job?
no.
I have no further questions, Judge.
Okay. Who's going to go first on cross, Mr. McKay?
Nice.
Okay, give me 1 second. All right, you may proceed when you're ready.
All right, Ms. Fontane, I'm going to talk to you about how you started your tour of duty on October 20th, 2014, okay?
Yes,
Now, by the way, at that time you lived in Beverly, right?
yes,
And you're working at the 8th District, right?
yes,
Close to home, right?
yes,
It doesn't take too long to get from home to work, right?
correct.
And your partner that day was Officer Ricardo Viramontes.
Yes,
And after roll call, and after you and Viramontes get your squad car and check it out, right?
yes,
You both get into that squad car.
yes,
And you already knew that your in-car camera was important, right?
yes,
And Viramontes is driving,
yes,
and you're in passenger.
yes,
And right as your tour of duty begins, Officer Viramontes wants to stop for a cup of coffee.
yes,
And he drove to a Dunkin' Donuts around 55th and Pulaski.
yes,
And he parked the car, and he went inside to get some coffee, right?
yes,
And what you did next, Ms. Fontane, is you turned down your police radio, didn't you?
yes,
And while you are on your tour of duty with your police radio down, you make a personal call, don't you?
yes,
That's how you were serving the citizens of Chicago at that time on that day, correct?
yes, yes,
So, at least on that day, that's the kind of police officer you are. Turn that police radio down and make a personal call, right?
no,
Well, it's true, isn't it, that while you were on that personal call, Viramontes had to run out of Dunkin' Donuts and tell you about this call for assistance, right?
yes,
That's how you learn about a police officer needing assistance, is from your partner who's in Dunkin' Donuts who didn't turn his radio down, right?
yes,
By the way, as a Chicago police officer, you went through the academy to begin with, right?
yes,
You started as a police officer in 2001, right?
yes,
So that means you were in the academy in the fall of 2001 when you started, right?
yes,
Yet you believe, do you not, Ms. Fontane, that a police officer can use lethal force when the offender has a weapon or he causes injury. Isn't that correct?
can you repeat that?
Sure. You believe, as a police officer, that a police officer can use lethal force when either the offender has a weapon or the offender causes injury to the officer, correct?
Yes,
That's how you were trained in the fall of 2001.
yes,
And by the way, speaking about training, you're supposed to be trained for tasers, aren't you?
yes,
You were not trained for the new tasers that were out in 2014, isn't that correct?
correct,
So you didn't know how to use a taser, isn't that right?
that's correct,
That's another example of the kind of police officer you were at that time.
well, in 2013, I broke my ankle and tore my meniscus. So I was on the medical for a whole year before, so that's why I couldn't get retrained.
Yeah. You didn't ask for that new training when you came back from the medical, did you?
They offer it.
And you declined.
They assign you to go and take it.
I see. Well, did you ever use any tasers at any time in your police career going back to the fall of 2001?
No,
So you didn't even know how to use a taser, right?
I was trained in it. I just never had to use it.
Well, in addition to training, the police department has general orders, don't they?
Yes,
You familiar with the general orders?
some.
But would you agree with me, Ms. Fontane, that it's really hard to keep up with the general orders? Isn't that right?
Some of them, yes.
In fact, you rely on your supervisors to tell you about the general orders that should be important, correct?
Sometimes, yes.
You don't on your own, it's right, that you don't put in your own effort to learn about the general orders. Isn't that correct?
And some I do.
And by the way, that night, you drove your car to the police parking lot, right?
That night,
I
at what
told this
time?
morning, when you went to the 8th District to go to work, you drove your car, didn't you?
My personal car?
Yeah.
Yes.
And in your personal car was a personal bag, isn't that correct?
Personal bag
Well, a bag.
with my police stuff or my personal stuff?
How about your police stuff?
That was in my locker.
I see. Did you have a bag in your car that contained handwritten reports?
That's my police bag.
Was that in your car, or where was that police bag?
It changes. Sometimes in my car, sometimes in my locker.
So that night, was it in your car or in your locker?
In my locker.
See. So you had handwritten reports in that bag.
Yes.
So you are telling this court that you can fill out a handwritten report, right?
If I need to, yes.
Speaking about needs, you have been a police officer for what, 17 years?
Yes.
And to get a 50% pension, you need 3 more years, don't you?
Yes.
20 years, and
Yes.
you get a 50% pension. Now, not long after you met with the Inspector General for the city of Chicago, you thought you were going to get fired. Isn't that right?
No.
Really? Did you meet with the special prosecutor and her team on June the 8th and June the 9th of 2017?
I'm not sure what the dates.
You met with that team for at least 2 days. Would that be fair to say?
Yes.
And that team included that team included a investigator working for them by the name of Vincent Williams.
I don't recall names.
All right, but there was a guy there taking notes, wasn't it?
Yes.
And you met at Ms. Holmes' law office downtown for those 2 days, right?
Yes.
And that is in the month of June of 2017. That sound about right?
Yes, if that's what that says.
And your lawyer, Jen Russell, was there with you, wasn't she?
She's always been with me.
For both of those days with the special prosecutor, right?
Yes.
And besides Ms. Holmes, Kelly Warner and Brian Watson were there, right?
Yes.
Along with their investigator, Mr. Williams, correct?
Yes.
And at that time, did you tell the special prosecutor that you thought you were going to be fired the next day after hearing from Ms. Mondragon? Did you say that or not to those people sitting over there?
Okay. When are you talking about? Like when they got stripped?
No, I'm asking, did you tell these people sitting over at this table in front of their investigator that after you talked to Ms. Mondragon, you thought you were going to get fired the next day?
Yes, I was told that.
So did you say that to those people?
That
These people sitting here?
I was they get out and get stripped because everybody else got stripped.
But, would you agree with me? Something happened. You did not get stripped, correct?
No, I didn't.
And at the time, you have no reason why you didn't get stripped. Isn't that correct?
I don't have any reason why.
You do not know why you didn't get fired. Isn't that correct?
No, I don't. You should ask whoever.
I'm sorry, what?
I don't know.
You don't know?
No.
So, Mondragon was going to get fired, right?
That's what she had said.
Your partner, Officer Viramontes, was going to get fired, right?
Yes.
But you didn't,
No.
for reasons you don't know about. Is that what you're telling this court? You have to say yes or no.
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay. And by the way, if you got charged with a felony, strike that. If you got convicted of a felony, you would lose your pension. Isn't that correct?
Yes.
And besides this house you have in Beverly, you have a house in Michigan, don't you?
Yes.
Judge, I would object this, beyond the scope anyway.
That's a rule.
And in addition to your house in Beverly and your house in Michigan, you got 2 kids.
Yes.
Ms. Fontane, I think we all know the answer to this. You need this job, don't you?
There's jobs everywhere.
Yeah, but you need this job as a police officer, don't you?
It's a nice job and I like it, yes, but
It's a nice job because you're making about $90,000 a year, aren't you?
yes,
And by the way, besides the $90,000 a year, the Chicago Police Department has great benefits, don't they?
yes,
The medical benefits for you and your family are outstanding, aren't they?
yes,
You get fired, you lose those benefits, don't you?
no,
Well, let's talk about what you did before you were a police officer, okay?
yes,
Before you became a police officer, you were a cashier at Popeyes, and then you were a loan officer at a student loan association, correct?
yes,
In that loan officer job, you were making only $32,000 a year when you left that job to become a police officer. True?
true.
You're 51 years old today, aren't you?
Yes,
What kind of new job would you get at your age with your skill set if you got fired from the Chicago Police Department?
I can get,
Well, let me ask you this. Ms. Fontane, I don't mean...
Objection, Judge, you didn't let her answer.
That's correct. Let her answer the question.
yes,
Go ahead.
okay, I'm not dumb. I can go back to school and I can get another degree.
Ms. Fontane, I didn't say you were dumb.
But you're asking me what kind of, with my skills. I do feel I have skills and I have an education.
Well, let's talk about your education.
Yes,
You only had 60 hours at Robert Morris College when you joined the police department, correct?
yes,
You do not have a 4-year college degree, do you?
but I can get one.
Well, I didn't say, could you get one? I asked you today, you don't have one, right?
As of right now, no, I don't.
And please, if you don't understand my question, just let me know, okay?
I'm answering the best to my ability.
Now, before I ask you a little bit more about that, now I want to ask you about traffic control, okay?
Yes,
Can you tell us what your duties are when you work traffic control while you were a police officer?
you block traffic, you guide cars to go a different route.
Okay. And how do you do that? Do you use a flashlight? Do you use some hand gestures? How do you do that?
with both flashlight, hand gestures.
And when somebody is hurt at a crime scene, one reason is right there. When somebody is hurt at a crime scene, the reason to do traffic control is to make sure there's access for an ambulance to get to that scene and tend to that person who's injured, right?
Yes.
Now, that night on October 20th, 2014, after the shooting, you and Viramontes were about to do traffic control, correct?
Yes.
You don't know if somebody ordered you or not to do it. You might have done it on your own, right?
Yes.
And before that assignment changed to something else, to be clear, you didn't take any witness contact information down, did you?
Before that, no.
During traffic control, you took no witness contact information, correct?
Correct.
And then you got switched from traffic control to another assignment, right?
Yes.
And what was that?
To follow the ambulance?
Follow the ambulance to Mount Sinai, right?
Yes.
And then that assignment switched back to traffic control.
No.
To paper car.
Yes.
All right. And you were getting these assignments by different supervisors from the 8th District, correct?
Yes.
The detectives were not at the scene during these various assignments you were being given, right?
I don't know.
Well, no detective told you to do traffic control, then to follow the body to the hospital or do the paper, right?
Correct.
It was supervisors from the 8th District. Isn't that right?
Correct.
But when you do traffic control, it's your job to maintain the perimeter of that crime scene. Isn't that correct?
Yes.
By the way, when you were assigned to do traffic control, was that for the southbound lanes of Pulaski that night?
Going north.
Going north. Now let's talk about the scene. When you got to the scene at 41st and Pulaski, you saw McDonald, and he was walking southbound, right?
Yes.
He wasn't running, correct?
No.
And by the way, you have no personal knowledge of what he was doing before you first saw him on Pulaski, right?
Correct.
And McDonald, while he was walking southbound, was waving this knife, wasn't he?
Swaying the knife.
Okay, you say swaying. What do you mean by swaying?
Swaying left and right.
Left and right. Like how I'm doing?
No.
You show me how he's doing it.
Like this.
Stand up, please, if that's okay.
It is.
So you are moving your arm from left to right around waist level, correct?
Yes.
And you're moving that knife in front of you, aren't you?
Yes.
And you knew it was a knife, right?
Yes.
You saw the shiny blade on that knife, didn't you?
Yes.
And he is swaying this knife back and forth, right?
Yes.
And you saw Mr. McDonald with that knife making attacking moves. Isn't that correct?
Attacking moves?
Yes.
No.
Are you sure?
I just saw him swaying it.
Okay.